Welcome to the presentation on my internship. This is Braxton Ard, and I interned at Sutherland Institute in Salt Lake City, Utah. The Sutherland Institute, it is in downtown Utah, right across the street from Temple Square, in one of the high rises that is around City Creek Shopping Center. Sutherland Institute is a conservative political think tank, and all that essentially means is that they write about policy, they work on policy, they work with politicians, and they lobby on behalf of certain policy in the state of Utah. And so they're focused just on legislation and events that happen in the state of Utah. So I found this internship. It is important to note before I get to this that my degree is marriage and family studies. My emphasis was policy and advocacy, and this is what led me to this internship. In Brother Rarick's policy and advocacy course, I was able to go on a field trip with the class to Salt Lake, and we toured and visited different sites that were potential places for internships, and Sutherland Institute was one of those. I was able to learn a little bit about Sutherland Institute, and I found that was helpful. One thing I learned from that is visiting the place in person. I don't know if Sutherland would have been a place I would have interned if I had not gone there in person, but going there in person, I just felt something special there and felt like that is a place I should go or needed to go. And it worked out for me. Other than that, I really just reached out to them, filled out an application, and kind of straightforward as far as that goes. So at Sutherland Institute, I basically was a policy intern. This just really meant that I researched policy. Sutherland Institute, one nice thing about their program is that there's a lot of freedom. You're able to use your time as you want. You can write op-eds, you can research different policies. So if there's an interest, especially with certain family policies, you can look into that, research that, and explore different areas to find what interests you. And I think that's one thing that's really valuable about this internship is you're able to explore topics and kind of take a dive and to see what direction you might want to go with a career if you are pursuing a career in some kind of policy or family policy specifically. Along with policy research is the one assignment that you did have was a policy project. This is something that it's the major thing that you contribute to the company while interning there, and it's something that they use in-house and they're able to reference anytime there is a situation dealing with the policy that you researched. And so you'll discuss with the policy team what topics might be relevant to them and of interest to you, and find a policy topic to pursue your project on. I did mine on hate speech and the implications of hate speech laws on the internet. And this for me was a great experience because it was able to be something unique, a little bit different than our degree, but it was neat to learn something new that I hadn't been exposed to a lot in school. I had a lot of ties to religious liberty as well. This policy project is comprehensive, and it was, I think mine ended up being almost 12,000 words. A lot of research and a lot of time went into that. Other things you do are Sutherland, depending on the type of year, has a lot of events. We set up for a lot of events and hosted events, and that was a great experience. We were able to meet different legislatures. We met Mitt Romney. We met the governor of Utah, and we were also able to meet Jeb Bush, along with a handful of other politicians. And then, of course, you're able to be involved in staff meetings at Sutherland Institute, and that is just a good experience to be able to work with people of a high profession. Oops, apologies there. Now, what I gained when I was at Sutherland Institute, one thing I learned were just a lot of different things of what I wanted in a career. Um, Specifically, I learned that for me, working behind a computer screen all day, every day isn't something that I'm looking for. I want something maybe a little bit more hands on. But you're able to try this, and there's also a lot of freedom. And if that works for you, then or if that's something you're curious about, this may be an internship worth checking out. Um, you also, at this internship, at least I learned how to work in a professional environment. The people you work with, they are lawyers, they've been involved with policy, economics, or they have worked in the political field for a long time. So a very professional environment, and it's a little bit different than the environment that we see at BYU Idaho, but it's kind of cool to just see those different environments and get a feel for what that's like. I was also able to see how policy plans develop. Sutherland this past year, they released a few publications on topics of education, religious liberty, and religious liberty, and to be able to kind of see how their process starts from ideas to actually having something published was beneficial for me to kind of see that in action. I learned about it in classes, but to see that in action. And when I mentioned classes, I had several classes that I feel like tied to this. First, as I mentioned before, Brother Eric's policy and advocacy class. There's a lot of ties to that, especially in writing op-eds, because they're supposed to be persuasive and focus on a topic without being too imposing. And so his class helped cover that. So another class that was helpful is, I feel like the marriage class was really helpful because there was the literature review that we had to write that involved a lot of research, and that is something that you do a lot of at Sutherland Institute and apply. So if you enjoyed that or did well at that, then those are skills that you would be able to apply at Sutherland Institute. As well, I took a class, if you are involved in the policy and advocacy emphasis, taking the political science classes and working hard in them is key, especially if you want to work in policy. I took the class Intro to Public Policy, and that class had a lot of ties to this internship, to the things that I did at this internship. As well, the policy project was almost identical to a smaller version that we did in that class, and so that was very helpful as well. And lastly, should you intern here? Of course, that really just depends on what your interests are. If you are wanting to, or even thinking about pursuing a career in policy or advocacy, this is definitely something you should at least look into, because you're able to get a hands-on approach and see what a work in policy looks like in the background, and what people actually do, and what it takes. And it's also where we're coming from, an LDS conservative background at BYU Idaho, at least the school itself. That's relevant in Sutherland in their mission, in the way that they operate. Many of the staff members are LDS, and everyone is conservative, and they work with a lot of LDS legislatures, and so you're able to see how policy specifically intersects with religion and our religion in general. Some things to consider: it is research heavy, and you spend a lot of time on the computer, so if that's not for you, maybe think about otherwise. Also, if you're not sure about policy and you haven't taken Brother Eric's policy and advocacy class, take that first, and that'll give you a little bit of a taste of some of the things that you'll do at this internship. And feel free to reach out with any questions. I know through the internship program at school, you can find my email and reach out with any questions. So Hope you enjoy this. Hope you understand this internship a little bit better. Thanks.